So the fire department just came. There were literally 4 firemen in my office right now, and they just left. And I kind of regret not filming them, but I guess I can't, because I just got in a lot of trouble with this toy.
Hello everyone and welcome back. There is a lot to unpack in this video, so I hope I can organize it in such a way that somehow makes sense. The original idea for this video was to test out the viral Magic Mixies toy, which you've probably seen all over YouTube. To make it more interesting, I wanted to try making a DIY version myself, just to see whether you can create the same effect using much cheaper materials. The most iconic part of this product is the magical mist, and I was really curious to see how they made it. I've always had a fascination about the science behind toys, and some of the most popular videos on my channel have all been on this topic. So today we're going to do a deep dive into Magic Mixies and find out exactly how it works. By the way, this video is obviously not sponsored, and I bought everything you see on screen. I know Magic Mixies are cheaper in the US, but in Austria every single shop sells these for about 79 euros, which is almost $100. And as you might have guessed from the title, this video ended up costing me way more than that, and I'll go into all the details a bit later on. The first thing I did before starting was to research different ways to create fog. There seems to be 4 main methods which I've listed here. The first one is dry ice, which is frozen carbon dioxide. It creates fog when dropped into water, but it's also incredibly dangerous if not handled correctly. I think there's zero chance that a children's toy is going to contain dry ice, so I didn't even bother following up this option. The second method is something called AB fluid, which is a product used in special effects and filmmaking. When you mix both liquids together, it creates a realistic fog or smoke effect. However, the 2 chemicals are listed as very dangerous, so I figured this is definitely not going to be inside a kid's toy either. The third method is glycerin mixed with distilled water. This is also known as fog juice, and it needs to be heated up to produce a pretty thick mist. I feel this one could be used in a kid's product because it's non-toxic, although I'm not entirely sure how they would incorporate the heat source into a toy. The final method is an ultrasonic atomizer, which is just a fancy name for a humidifier. It works with plain water and it doesn't need any heat. You can get these atomizing heads pretty cheaply, and I ordered this exact one from Amazon. Now it's time to take a close look at Magic Mixies. Right away, there's a warning label that tells you the mist is made from vegetable glycerin, which I'm pretty surprised about. At least it takes some of the guesswork out of the video. However, I'm still quite curious how they managed to incorporate a fog maker that requires a lot of heat inside a plastic toy. It charges up via USB, and you have to plug it in for 60 to 90 minutes before getting started. The base plate has a light on it and these 2 metal dots. The rest is made of plastic, so it's very unlikely that anything is going to get heated up here. However, I'm still not 100% sure, so let's activate the toy to find out. First, you have to add 1 potion bottle of water into the pot. To my surprise, this produces sound and light effects which are more entertaining than I expected. The other stuff you add inside just remind me of bath products such as bath bombs or soap flakes. Each time you hear 3 taps, you're supposed to tap the wand 3 times against the pot to activate the next step. However, I found this slightly confusing because some stages seem to progress automatically, and my spell ended before I managed to add everything. This part was very magical though, and I love the sudden reveal of the Mixie. One reason I didn't end up adding everything was because I got distracted by the packaging. It's not really well made, and this one ended up with a really sharp corner that I almost cut myself on. And just when I was filming this scene, something even more unexpected happened.
So the fire department just came. There were literally 4 firemen in my office right now, and they just left, and I'm in shock. So I'm just still filming the rest of the toy. I'm just resetting the pot, and then all of a sudden I hear footsteps outside, which is strange because it's a Sunday. And then somebody just unlocks my door, and 4 firemen dressed in like full fireman outfits came in. And then I figured out must have been something to do with that fog and the mist that came out. It basically activated one of the alarms up here, which was also strange because there wasn't an alarm there. I didn't hear anything. If there had been an alarm, I would have heard it and, reacted to it and turned it off, but there was nothing. Yeah, so this toy is kind of dangerous. Not in the sense that it could hurt somebody, but the vapor from the toy can actually activate an alarm. And in this case, in the best case, it just beeps. If it's a home alarm, it's going to beep and then you can turn it off and it's fine. But in this case, this is linked up to the fire department. And if they send the firemen out, somebody has to pay for it. And I think in this case, I'm going to have to pay for it.
So here's an update from the future. And yes, I do have to pay for everything. I received an email from the building management immediately the next morning. They don't know exactly how much it is yet, but they told me it's at least 500 euros for the truck, but that doesn't include staff costs, which get added on top. I saw 4 firemen, and there might have been more outside, so I'm guessing it's going to be at least a few €100 more. That was obviously completely unexpected, and it's the first time in my whole 8 years of YouTube that I actually made a video with such a loss. However, the show must go on, so let's take a look at the Mixie which came out of the pot. This is surprisingly cute, and it reacts to different motions from the magic wand. I think this is what wins a lot of people over with Magic Mixies, because the final product is more impressive than you expected. However, I'm personally not a huge fan of the character design, so that's why my original idea was to create a DIY version myself. I'm sketching out a few koala-inspired characters, and I want to keep the slightly mystical pixie feel, but with a cuter looking face. The body is going to be a combination of sock plushie, paper clay, and needle felt. I'm going to start with the basic plushie method, and I'm trying to save time by making the arms and legs using one piece. To do so, you have to draw and sew the outline like this. The important thing is that there has to be enough space between the arms and body for you to cut between the lines. This lets you stuff the arm right away without having to make them separately, like the method I used for the Squid Game plush. I stuffed everything using a hole in the tummy area, which then gets covered up with a different color. I used the remaining part of the sock to make a mushroom shape, which will then become the head. This suddenly reminds me of Sydney from Animal Crossing, who is literally my favorite villager. Using purple was a random choice, but it fits perfectly with the koala design. Now I'm using paper clay to make the face, which is inspired by the plastic face on the Magic Mixie. This is my first time making a clay and sock plushie, so I'm hoping everything is going to turn out fine. I'm cutting out the shape from thin clay and then pressing it gently into the plushie to create a 3-dimensional form. Instead of using one large jewel on the forehead, I'm going to use 3 small Swarovski crystals. I simply pushed these into the clay and they stuck together surprisingly well. I also found that painting facial features onto clay makes it a lot easier to come up with more complex designs. For the final step, I'm using needle felt and I'm overlapping 2 different colors of wool to make the hair. Then I'm felting one side to make sure everything is firmly attached. I've used this method once before in my color changing unicorn plushie, so feel free to check out that video, which I've linked below. Now I'm sewing the hair into place and sticking the face on using craft glue. This plushie came together a lot better than I expected, and all the different materials have a great contrast with each other.
Hi guys! So as you can see, I'm in my kitchen right now, and I will be filming the rest of this tutorial at home because I really don't want to risk setting off the fire alarm again. So for the next part, I want to try making my own fog. And I'll be using 2 of the methods I mentioned earlier, which are the 2 that I think are safe for kids.
This is the ultrasonic atomizer that I ordered from Amazon, and I have to say the quality looks a bit cheap. I was kind of skeptical whether this could work at all. There isn't even an on and off switch, but it does have a water sensor which is supposed to activate automatically. So I started by adding some room temperature water into a pot, then I plugged it in and placed it inside. I was really shocked at how fast this activated, and I was seriously impressed by the fog. I tried using a steamer to add the koala without getting it wet, but this one was a bit too big and it blocked out all the mist. Then I tried a smaller steaming basket, which worked really well, and the effect looks amazing. Obviously, I know this isn't a substitute for the Magic Mixies pot, but I was just curious to see what kind of DIY method would come closest to replicating the effect. Next up, I'm going to try making some fog juice using glycerin and water. The ratio should be about 2 parts distilled water to 1 part glycerin. I didn't have any distilled water, so I used tap water, and I'm not sure if that makes a difference. I'm heating this up slowly, and unfortunately there's not a lot happening. If I tilt the pot around, then you can see that there's some mist coming off here, but it's not that impressive. I think I could get better results with distilled water, but the whole heating part of this one just feels a bit risky, so I decided to stop here. So after these 2 experiments, there's one thing that jumps out at me. The atomizer has a little metal stick, which is the water sensor. This looks exactly like the 2 metal dots inside the Magic Mixies pot. A part of me is wondering whether they actually have an atomizer built in as well, so I decided to try it again. This time I'm not adding any of the spells, and I'm just tapping the wand to skip forward to the final part. When the fog started forming, I actually stuck my hand inside to test if it's hot, but I couldn't really feel anything. Upon closer inspection, the fog coming from Magic Mixies does look a bit thicker. It also has a distinct burning smell, exactly like the fog from a commercial machine, so there's no doubt there's a glycerin-based mist maker inside. I think these metal dot water sensors are only used to activate the potion sequence, and they have nothing at all to do with the fog. Looking through the instructions, you get a tiny bottle of mist maker, which is obviously fog juice. You just refill it here, and the mist comes through the holes in the side. And that's the full breakdown of how Magic Mixies work. It's very cleverly designed, but there are obviously heightened risks with any toy that combines water, electricity, sound, and heat. The fog machine is fully hidden inside the mixing plate, so you never come in contact with the heating unit. The spell items are basically mini bath bombs, some powders that remind me of popping candy or baking soda, and some colorful soap flakes. A smaller risk I discovered after playing this with my daughter Isabel is that some of the bath bombs contain a ton of pigment. So if you touch the water and then touch something else, then the ink is going to transfer all over the place. So would I buy this toy as a parent? Most likely not. I think it's unique, but it's not worth the money because the novelty factor goes away very quickly. I also bought a refill pack, and we just used that up within 20 minutes. During one of our playthroughs, the cauldron got stuck in the wrong position because a tiny piece of the Mixie was sticking out while it was flipping over. I managed to fix this, but it just highlights all the small things that could go wrong with a complex toy like this. Isabel also got bored of it fairly quickly because after a while there's just nothing new to reveal. She ended up making a potion using the plastic lid from the packaging, so that just about says it all. I really hope you found this video interesting, and let me know if you want me to do a deep dive into any other toys. I'm Joanna, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!